Hey everyone, I'm going to take a look at the Champions League Player of the Week pack on eFootball. I've already reviewed the regular Player of the Week pack. That video's live on the channel already if you want to check that one out. As always, I'll put timestamps in the description for each player, so if there's a particular player you want to hear about, click in the description and there'll be a link to take you straight to them. So for this pack, we'll start with a couple of boosters to start off with. So let's start with Giuliano Simeone. So we have had a Player of the Week card of this particular Simeone recently. That was a regular Player of the Week pack, and they've done the exact same thing again. So he's normally a centre forward dummy runner, but he's a whole player and a right midfielder. So same profile as the previous Player of the Week version we had of him. They've also made him semi-proficient as a right wing forward, which is useless on these untrainable cards. Awesome. One thing to keep keep in mind with this guy, on the off chance that you really do like the idea of having a right midfield version of this guy, Simeone, you can't position train other versions of him to be right midfield because his registered position is centre forward normally, and right midfield is not semi-proficient on his other cards, and it's not adjacent to centre forward either. So if you do really want a right midfield version of this guy, then you would really want either this card or the one that was recently released in Player of the Week. This one is slightly better than that previous one. Not a massive difference, but this one's a booster. When you activate the booster, it's pretty clear that this one is a better version. There was a trainable version in, I think it was the Ballon d'Or pack, the Rodri one, Showtime Rodri one, quite recently. That one's pretty good, probably a bit better than this one, but when this one is on A form, it's at least pretty similar. It's pretty close, but that one is a centre forward dummy runner again. So the two Player of the Week ones, whole player right midfield, but all the other ones centre forward dummy runner, and that's the case with that trainable one, which is probably arguably the best version of him. And like I say, you can't train that one as a right midfielder, and it does have a very particular playing style of dummy runner. So yeah. As with the previous Player of the Week version of Simeone, we've got a whole player right mid version. He can still play centre forward, of course. He won't have an active playing style up front. Awareness 85 on A form, finishing 82. Not sure he'd be a great centre forward for me. You could probably get away with him, but I don't know. It's up to you. But question is, what position is he best in? You've got left wing forward as well. Compared to his GP card, obviously they've changed his position. However you train the GP card, this card is better both as a centre forward and as a wide midfielder. We'll just look at his skills before we consider what positions he's good in. So they've added long range shooting, through passing, pinpoint crossing, and track back as well. We've lost gamesmanship, that's not a huge loss. But yeah, as a right midfielder and as a centre forward, to be fair, good selection of skills there. When we look at him as a left wing forward, long range curler is a pretty key one for a wide forward as a kind of inverted winger, so he is lacking that one. But apart from that, as a centre forward, certainly he's got a good selection of skills there. And as a right midfielder, likewise, a good selection of skills, especially pinpoint crossing since he's a right footer, but he can't cross the ball because he's only got 72 for lofted pass. So again, it's nice giving them pinpoint crossing, but if you're only going to give him 72 for lofted pass, that's pretty useless because he's not going to be able to cross that well, even with pinpoint crossing. Pinpoint crossing is just going to improve their ability to cross it from however good it is based on the attributes, which is not good at all. So yeah, his crossing still won't be brilliant. And he does have one touch pass and through pass in there, but again, low pass only 76. He's not going to be great with his passing or his crossing. So how good is he going to be as a right midfielder? I'm not sure. He's got the whole player playing style, so he will be making those attacking runs with good attacking awareness, getting into good attacking positions. He can certainly shoot from wide midfield, 82 finishing, and of course he's got the shooting skills there, first time shot, long way shooting. So there are some qualities there, and he's quick, decent balance, a little bit of physical strength about him, but as a right footer on the right hand side, without the ability to pass or cross any better, I'm just not sure how effective he'll be as a right midfielder. Like I say, with the pace, the attacking movement, reasonable on the ball, and he can shoot. Yeah, he could get you a goal or two, but I'm not sure he's quite got the profile that most people want from a right midfielder. As a left wing forward, like I say, long range curler would have been a really nice addition. Obviously, if he didn't score a goal like that, then you can't expect them to add it, but he doesn't have it, and that is a bit of a negative if you play him in that position. But even without it, 82 finishing is decent. He is reasonable on the ball, and he's certainly got the pace and good attacking awareness. So he could certainly do a job as a left wing forward for you. Albeit I'd like it to be a bit better on the ball and to have long range curler in that position. So then you've got centre forward. Pace, yeah. Balance is okay. Bit of physical strength on the ball, pretty decent for centre forward. Awareness on A form, it's borderline. Without the A form boost, 82, same as finishing, which is too low for me. You could get away with that. I know some people don't really mind that on centre forward sometimes. If they're lacking a bit of awareness or even finishing, you can get away with that for sure, but I don't really want to be picking players and kind of getting away with low attributes. I want them to be good. I want to know that I can trust them in the most important areas, which obviously is awareness and finishing for a centre forward. So yeah, I think there's just another one of these cards where right midfield, left wing, centre forward, all three of those positions. He could certainly do a job for you. It's a good boost from his GP card, and he's got the ability to do a job in each of those positions. But I think most people prefer a player who's going to be a bit better than just, someone who can do a bit of a job. You want someone who's good in one of those positions, and I don't think he's that great in any of those positions already. So could be a handy one. Maybe if you've not been playing the game long, it could be worth keeping hold of if you get him to add to your kind of La Liga ranks for the Spanish League Challenge. But yeah, ultimately for me, got some strengths, could certainly do a job in certain ways, but I don't think he's particularly great in any position. And he doesn't have a face scan yet, although I'm sure he will get one at some point in time. So yeah, not a particularly bad card, but it's really not one that I think many people are going to get a great deal of use out of. And next we have Morgan Rogers. So we've had a few versions of Morgan Rogers this season. This is the third Player of the Week one we've had. There was a Morgan Rogers Player of the Week card in the regular kind of worldwide Player of the Week pack that was a booster. And that was better than this one. And there's also one in a previous Champions League Player of the Week pack. That was pretty similar to this one on the whole. Stats kind of shuffled around a little bit. And that was a classic number 10 as well. And that's a playing style that, it's not too different to whole player. Classic number 10 basically just won't defend, whereas a whole player will defend a bit more. But also worth keeping in mind with that previous one, a classic number 10 won't be an active playing style down the left. It'll only be active as an attack midfielder on that card, whereas with this card, whole player will be active attacking mid and left mid, albeit not left wing. But yeah, that was a fairly similar card on the whole, the previous Champions League one. The regular worldwide Player of the Week card that we had recently of Rogers was a bit better than this one, especially with the booster. So it's not the best version of Rogers. There was a trainable one in some kind of legend box quite recently. One of those ones with the kind of dark green football in the background. That was a left wing prolific winger. It's kind of similar overall statistically, but a different profile. Stats kind of shuffled around a bit. You can make him better in certain areas, depends how you train him, because that's obviously a trainable card. But I mean, you can make him better on the ball, give him a bit more speed, make his passing better. We'll come to that in a moment. But you can't match the finishing of this card. So that's one thing this card does have over that trainable one. But apart from that trainable card, maybe the fact that it's trainable makes it a bit favourable. But yeah, I think ultimately this version of Rogers, it's certainly a good version. I don't think there's a massive difference between this and other versions of Rogers, but it's certainly not the best either though. So it's not the most exciting version. And some of the areas where you'd want him to be better, for example, on the ball, I just feel like he's a bit less appealing than other versions of him. Compared to his GP card, they've given him a boost kind of down the right column, pretty much all that right column except for balance, where he's lost a bunch of points. Again, why do they do it on attacking players? It's really annoying because it's an important attribute. But yeah, we've lost a bit of balance. Otherwise, the right column's looking good. They boosted his defensive attributes. Not sure how important that is. I just feel like they do that sometimes in attacking players, just to kind of sneak their overall rating up, make them look a bit better than they actually are. Maybe, I don't know, attack awareness is up a bit. Finishing is obviously up. Finishing at 85 is good. Very good, in fact, on any kind of midfielder. Dribbling's been nerfed a bit. That's a bit of a shame. And passing, low and lofted pass have been really nerfed. They've taken a bunch of points off low and lofted pass on an attacking midfielder in Player of the Week. Someone explain that to me. Some of the things they do are a bit annoying, but an attacking midfielder getting into Player of the Week from the elite competition in Europe, arguably the best competition in the world. He's one of the best players in that competition this week, and they've taken a whole bunch of points off his passing. I'm tired of trying to make sense of it, but yeah, they've nerfed his passing for whatever reason. Skill-wise, though, a bit of a boost here. So they've not taken any away. They just throw in a bunch of new skills in. So they've added long-range shooting, first-time shot, outside curler is new, and again, fighting spirit. They've been putting fighting spirit on a lot of attacking players in Player of the Week recently. So yeah, on the whole, pretty nice section of skills on Morgan Rogers here. We've got the one-touch pass and through passing, obviously crucial ones for an attack midfielder. Again, as with Simeone just now, you can play him down the left-hand side, but it's a shame he's not got long-range curler. That would have made a difference. But again, if he's not scored any long-range curlers recently, you can't expect them to put it on him. But it is a shame he doesn't have that, just in terms of how good he is. But he's got long-range shooting, he's got first-time shot, and he does have 85 for finishing, which is good. Bit of kicking power as well, so he's certainly capable of scoring goals coming off the left flank or through the middle. Yeah, outside curler is a nice one to have. Fighting spirit, soul control. He's got a pretty good selection of skills. Yeah, it's a decent card. It's just not an amazing one, you know. He's got a nice bit of pace through the middle. If you're playing wide left, I think most people would prefer a bit more pace on him. He's got a bit of physical strength, which is good on an attacking midfielder. You don't always get that, but the balance is a little bit on the low side. Stamina 83 is not too bad, but it's not brilliant, especially on a whole player. Whole players will do a lot of running, so he will get tired. On the ball, like I said, I'd like him to be a bit better. That's a bit disappointing. Attacking awareness good, finishing very good, passing, it's not terrible, but it could be better, and they've nerfed that for some weird reason. So yeah, on the whole, it's a fairly decent card, but it's not an amazing one. I would like some of these attributes to be higher, and I think some of the previous versions of Rodgers that we've had are more appealing to me. So if you've not got one of those previous ones and you get this one, it could be a decent card, but I don't think it's an amazing one. And compared to the other ones, it's like I say, it's just a little bit disappointing to me. He's got his face scan there, and there are plenty of strengths there. He's got good searching skills. Just, yeah, like I say, even though it's not the worst card, it's a bit disappointing to me. Next we have Osame Sahraoui. I probably said that wrong. From Lille, we've got a whole player left midfielder. This guy is normally a prolific winger, and he's normally a left winger, but he's now a left midfielder with a whole player playing style. It's the first time I've got a feature version of him, so there's no feature versions to compare him to. Does he have a face scan? No, not yet. Quite young. May well get one at some point. He's a booster again, so we've got a second booster already. If we're not comparing to any other feature ones, we might as well just boost him straight away. What do we get? On the ball. Is that on the ball carrying, something like that? Technique, close enough. Interesting. So on A form, certainly on the ball, all three of those attributes can be 90 plus. Very interesting. So comparing to his GP cards, the only other version of him that we can compare him to, they've taken a bit away from his acceleration, but they boosted his physical strength, his stamina, his defending. Great. His on the ball is about the same as GP card before he gets the boost. So the boost does make him better on the ball. His passing's had a nice boost. It's still not amazing. Depends where you're going to play. I suppose he's a left winger. You can't play into the middle. So as a left winger, yeah, okay. Before the boost, passing's all right. But with the boost, pretty nice. And it has been boosted a lot from his GP card. And his finishing likewise. So yeah, he's looking reasonable. What they've done skill-wise from his GP card. They've taken away Scotch turn. They've given us first time shot, one touch pass, and pinpoint crossing. So we've got a pretty decent selection of skills here. Again, we got an inverted winger on the left wing who doesn't have long range curler. That's a shame. Is an important skill, but we do have some nice ones. We've got a few skill moves, soul control. We've got heel trick. We've not got outside curler, and he's pretty two-footed, so that's okay. First time shot, good one. One touch pass, through passing, pinpoint crossing. Okay, so we've got some end product there. Decent selection of skills on the whole. His pace is okay. It's not brilliant for a winger. It's okay though. Balance, I'd like to be a bit higher. On the ball, like I say, on A form, great. When he's not on A form, he's decent on the ball, not amazing. That boost does make quite a difference. Attack awareness is good. He's a whole player, so that's great. Great combination. Attack awareness 84 before your game plan boost. With the whole player playing style as a left midfielder, very nice. He won't be a whole player left wing. You won't have an active playing style there. Doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, that's up to you. He'll still make those attacking runs though with good attacking awareness. The passing, like I say, even without the boost, is decent for a wide man. And the finishing could be a bit higher. He's got first time shot at least, but without long range curl or even long range shooting, I'd like the finishing to be a bit higher. So yeah, on the whole, is it a good card? It's all right. It's decent. I think as a left winger, a kind of inverted winger, it's one of these cards where if you've been playing the game for quite a while now, you've probably got a lot of better options to go in your team for things like divisions. This guy's not going to be usable in any challenges. Like there's no French League challenge. Obviously, if you do a Morocco squad in the national challenge, or if you want to put him in your squad for the unlimited challenge, that's different. But are you going to put him in your squad for unlimited when you can use any of your players? But most of us have got better options. I doubt it, and likewise divisions. So yeah, again, it's one of these cards. He's not a bad card. He's certainly got quality. He's got a bit of pace about him. Certainly on A4, he's going to be pretty nice on the ball. Low centre of gravity as well. And a bit of end product about him. So yeah, he's a bit short of being a great card. But I think certainly there'll be some people in the player base who, certainly if you've not been playing the game for too long, could be a pretty useful option for you. So yeah, not a brilliant card, but not a bad one either. Some people could find him pretty useful, I guess. And next is Jorginho from Arsenal. So, got his face scan, of course. Orchestrator, normal playing style. We've had one previous player of the week version of Jorginho. That was a box-to-box, not an orchestrator. Very similar on the whole in terms of their overall ability and in certain areas in terms of looking at the attributes. But the one real difference, there's two areas that are different really between this one and the box-to-box player of the week. This one's not as good defensively, but he's a bit better athletically, a bit more pace and stuff. That's really it. So a bit more here, a bit less there. That's the real difference, as well as the playing style between this one and that previous player of the week version of Jorginho. The best version we've had of Jorginho was a Showtime card that was available for free when they gave us 3 Arsenal Showtime cards to choose from. So you may have chosen that one. That's the best one we've had, that Showtime one. Apart from that, though, if you look at the trainable versions of Jorginho, obviously they're trainable. You can kind of shuffle the points around, but it tends to be the same kind of story as that previous player of the week one. Really, they tend to be a bit better defensively, but not quite so good athletically. Looking at his GP card, unsurprisingly based on what we've seen so far, on his GP card, is not so good down the right hand side. So they boosted him down the right hand side athletically. They've nerfed him a bit defensively. Like I said, that's pretty much the story so far that we've found comparing to other featured versions. But he's been boosted a bit on the ball. His awareness and his finishing, they're not great, but they have been boosted from his GP card. And yeah, on the whole, he's looking pretty tidy. Unwavering form as well. This might be one of the last chances you get to pick up an Arsenal version of Jorginho, because he's rumoured to be joining Flamengo at the end of the season. I'm sure he won't be retiring just yet, though. Probably got at least a couple more years in him. But yeah, as an Arsenal version of him might be one of the last chances you get. But yeah, what's happening skill-wise then? Skill-wise, we've lost gamesmanship and captaincy, and they've added fighting spirit again. Fighting spirit is flavour of the month when it comes to adding skills to player of the week cards. And blocker, that's a good addition. So both good additions, really. So yeah, in terms of the skills this guy's got, pretty good for a defensive mid and even for a centre mid, to be honest. He's got one touch through passing, weighted pass. He's got pinpoint crossing and low off the pass. So he's got all the passing skills there. Soul control is a nice one to have. And then defensively, interception he already had, but he's also got blocker and fighting spirit now. So yes, they've nerfed his defensive stats a bit, but they're still pretty decent on a defensive mid. Obviously, it depends how you use him. If you want him as like your sole defensive midfielder, just as like an anchor man doing all the defensive work, then you might find he's a little bit lacking defensively, certainly in terms of his physical strength. But if he's just going to play in a double pivot, you've got at least one other midfielder in there, DMF or CMF, doing the defensive work. This guy can certainly chip in, and when you get him on the ball, not a dribbler by any means. He's not the quickest. He can't really dribble particularly well, but he can certainly control the ball. He can get on the ball and pick a pass. He's got the passing skills as well. So yeah, depending on what kind of profile you want on a defensive midfielder and what kind of profile you'd want on the version of Jorginho, like I say, previous versions, you tend to get a bit more defensively, just not as much athletically. But you look at the skills they put on this one, blocker and fighting spirit, the overall profile he's got, I think is pretty well balanced. And I think for a lot of people, as a defensive midfielder, or even as a centre midfielder, as an orchestrator, as that kind of deep line playmaker, he'll be loitering around the middle of the park, either of these positions as an orchestrator. He won't make too many attacking runs, but with the ability he's got, he can defend, and he's obviously able to get on the ball and pick a very nice pass. So yeah, sure that if you've got the Showtime version, you've already got a better version, but if you don't have that version of him, and depending on whether you've got a previous version of him, a trainable one, you may well find this is a very useful defensive mid or centre mid to pick up. It's a pretty decent card on the whole. Now we've got a goalie, we've got big Anatolii, 199 centimetres this guy. I've got a previous player of the week version of him. And this one is probably just about the best out of the three. We've had 3 player of the week versions of him now up to this point. The stats are kind of shuffled around a bit, but I think on the whole, if you look at the 3, this one probably gets the edge. I've got a previous one that's been pretty decent for me. He's a big dude, and he's got good reach as well. I think I've got the one who's got like about 90, 91 reach before the game plan boost, so he's got crazy reach. This one not so much, but still, with his height and that reach, really good coverage of his goal. The awareness, the reflexes and reach are all going to hit 90 with the game plan boost. Catching and parrying might not be brilliant, but they're pretty decent. Similar story to Allison, I think, this kind of profile. Just obviously this guy's a bit taller. Jumping not so great, but you can allow that on a guy as tall as this guy. He's got unwavering form. He does have a face scan, high punt, long throw, penalty save. So he doesn't have low punt. That's a bit of a shame, but you do get that quite often with goalies. Yeah, on the whole, looking pretty good. There was a trainable version of Trubin actually, in some kind of legend box. Overall rating works out about the same as this one, but he gets that partly from jumping. We know that with player of the week goalkeepers, they nerf the jumping. So that trainable version gets some of his rating from the jumping. And what that means is that his goalkeeper attributes on the whole aren't quite as good as this. So that trainable one isn't actually quite as good as this one at goalkeeping. So yeah, this for me is the best version of Trubin that I see in the database. From his GP cards, a nice boost. The biggest boost from his GP card is that they've given his catching quite a nice boost actually. So yeah, a very solid goalkeeper. There's no weakness there. You could argue maybe the jumping, maybe the fact he's not got low punt. But I don't think either of those are a massive deal. The most important thing is he's a big guy. Good coverage of his goal, awareness and reflexes, and the catching and parrying ain't bad either. So yes, we don't get a Portuguese league change. That's another downer, but ultimately, as a goalkeeper option in any given week, I think it's certainly do a very good job for a lot of people. So unless you've got the legend keepers like Czech or Kanch, Michael, whoever it is, outside of those types of keeper, this guy is like a big and very, very good goalkeeper to be honest. It's a solid goalkeeper card, that. And next we have Booster John Stones. So he's got a regular playing style build up, regular positions. We've had a couple of Player of the Week versions of John Stones. So we've had one where he's playing for England, one for Man City. Without activating the boost, this new one's looks a bit better, a bit more pace, a bit more technical ability. When you boost it, and when you boost the most recent one, which was the booster as well, that previous one does with the boost become better physically and aerially. But this one, when you activate the boost, it's a bit better defensively. So yeah, pros and cons, but this looks like a pretty nice version of Stones. When you look at the best trainable versions of Stones, they tend to be a bit better defensively, even when this one's fully boosted on A form. But again, this one has a bit more pace and more technical ability, a bit more stamina as well. So I think as a kind of more well-rounded version, I think on the whole, this for me is one of the more appealing versions of Stones, arguably the most appealing. Yes, I'd like a bit more physical strength there, but outside of that, this is looking like a pretty nice card on A form at least. When he's not got A form, still good defensively, but it's really the tackling there and arguably the aggression as well, just a little bit on the low side. But certainly with A form, this is looking like a really nice version of John Stones. From his GP card, they've nerfed his defensive attributes a bit, albeit when he's on A form, they're almost as good as his GP card. Right column, of course, as we know with Player of the Week centre-backs lately, the right column's had a bit of a boost, left column's had a bit of a boost. Biggest boost is really the kicking power and lofted pass. And yeah, like I say, on the whole, I mean, down the left, very nice for a centre-back. Down the middle, before A form, strong. With A form, even better. Down the right, pretty nice. Just with like a bit more aerial strength, really. And skill-wise, what's the booster called? Defending, nice. Skill-wise, what they added here, they have added one-touch pass and through passing. And one thing with John Stones is that he's usually lacking a few defensive skills, at least on his trainable cards. But they have added man marking, aerial superiority, and blocker. So we've got most of the skills we need as a centre-back. Really, I think all we're lacking is maybe his heading and acrobatic clearance, maybe fighting spirit. So there's a few that we're missing there that would be nice if we had them, but we've got most of the important ones. I think man marking, such and blocker. To me, those are probably the three that I look for first on the centre-back. He's got those now. He's got aerial superiority as well, making stronger in the air, and he's got some nice passing skills for a centre-back. One-touch pass, through passing, weighted pass, and low-lofted pass. Those passing attributes are very high for a centre-back. He's very good on the ball for a centre-back, but he's still pretty strong defensively, especially on A form. He's got enough physical strength, even if I'd like a bit more. Jumping on A form is decent. It's not going to quite hit the 90 mark because it doesn't hit the 85 mark before the boost, but still decent physically and aerially, even if not amazing. Pretty nice pace on the centre-back. Yeah, this is a really nice looking centre-back, John Stones, but not only is he a very nice centre-back, he always has defensive midfield as a position, but he's not always that great in that position. But with the profile they're giving him, the way they boosted him, you look down that left-hand side of these attributes that are 80 plus, and the skills they're giving him as well, with one-touch pass and through passing, as well as the defensive skills, you're actually looking at a very nice defensive midfielder here. So balance, I'd like to be a bit higher. Attacking awareness sucks, obviously, but as a defensive midfielder who's just going to protect your defense, this is a very nice card. He's very strong defensively. He's got physical strength. He's pretty strong in the air as well. Stamina's okay for a defensive mid. It's not amazing, but you can get away with that. But down the left with those attributes as they are, with the one-touch pass and through passing, it's not just a good centre-back card, this. As a defensive midfielder, I think it's a very, very nice-looking option. So you've got two positions in which this could be a very nice card. Right back, I wouldn't even think about it. Yes, technically he can do the job defensively. There's no question he can do the job as a right back, but stamina a bit of a question mark. Balance is horrible, and he's clearly not quick enough. So I wouldn't even think about right back. But as a centre-back and as a defensive midfielder, this for me is one of the nicer-looking versions of John Stones. I think this is a really, really nice-looking card. And I'm really hoping I get some, to be honest. This might be my number one target from the pack. I think it's a really, really handy card, this. Obviously, he's got his face scan before I forget. Only standard form, bit of a downer. But yeah, when he does hit A form especially, centre-back or defensive mid, really nice card, that. And next up is Johan Bakayoko from PSV. So, prolific winger, right wing forward, the usual playing style and position. But interestingly, they've added right midfield. It looks like they've added right midfield to his positions, even though they've not changed his position. I don't think I've seen them do that before. Obviously, they changed the position of a lot of players. That's not uncommon if they do play in a different position. But they've added right midfield without actually making him a right midfielder this time, which is interesting. But yeah, so you've got two positions now, right wing forward or right midfield. Prolific wing will be an active playing style right wing forward, but not right midfielder. And we've had a couple of previous versions of Bakayoko. We've had one in some kind of Legend or Showtime pack, and one nominating contract from a while back now. Both of those have a bit more pace, a bit better on the ball, and a bit more balance as well. So we're not looking great in that regard, but this card has better end product, passing and shooting. So pros and cons, obviously those previous versions that I just mentioned, you can train them, you can shuffle the points around. Compared to his GP cards, they've taken a bit away from his acceleration and his kicking power and his balance and his attacking awareness and a couple of points away from his dribbling. Wow. Awesome. This is obviously a really good version of Bakayoko, but yeah, they have boosted him in some areas, and as I touched on, comparing it to other versions, it is his passing and his finishing where he's had the biggest boost. They have put a whole bunch of points on his passing and his finishing, so and his ball control's up a little bit as well, and his physicals and his defending, awesome, really useful. So yeah, another one of these Player of the Week cards where it's quite strange what they've done with some of the attributes, making him better at defending and physical, I guess just trying to sneak his overall rating up, make him look better than he is. But the fact that even though they've given him a nice boost on his passing and finishing, which they have, and that does help a lot, the fact they've taken a bunch of points away from a whole load of areas that are really important on a winger, you know, acceleration, balance on the ball, annoying. But just to look at it in isolation, still quick, reasonable on the ball, a bit more in product than normal, good attacking awareness on a winger. It's not a bad card. His balance isn't brilliant, but he's got a bit of physical strength about him. He does have a face scan. And looking at his skills, what they've done skill-wise, there's one big plus side for the dribblers. They might have taken a couple of points off his dribbling, but they've added double touch and flip-flap, and he's already got soul control. So you've got your ball roll double touch. Long-range curler as an inverted winger. He's left-footed playing on the right wing, so long-range curler. We do have a winger with long-range curler, so that's good. That's a big plus. And again, they've added fighting spirit. Another Player of the Week card where they've added fighting spirit. They're just giving that to everyone at the moment. And he's got heel trigger ready and first time shot and through passing. So yeah, first time shot and long range curler, very good coming off that right flank onto his left foot. Through passing helps, even if his low pass isn't brilliant. So yeah, it's a decent card. You know, he's got the pace. Like I say, he's reasonable on the ball. Decent awareness and finishing. So as an inverted winger coming off the right flank, it's a decent card, but the fact that they've nerfed him in one or two areas, I can kind of allow them to take a few points off his acceleration. It's still going to go past 90 with the game plan boost. I don't think you'll notice that too much. But in other areas, taking a few away from his balance and taking 2 points off his dribbling, what is the point? Like, really? If they leave the 2 points on dribbling, is everyone going to spin for this guy and then never spin for Legends again? I mean, come on, why? Why bother doing that? It's not going to break the game if you leave those 2 points there, but I don't know. On the whole, it's still a decent card. Like I say, in isolation, it's a tidy looking card. He's not an amazing winger, but for what he is, playing on the right flank as a left footer with the skills that he's got, pretty decent selection there. You got your ball roll double touch if you like that kind of thing. Bit of pace, even not amazing on the ball, but he's certainly decent enough. He could be used for one. He could certainly get goals for you. So yeah, another card where, yeah, if he's your kind of player, he could be a fun one to pick up. He's just not an amazing one, so it's not one to get too excited about. But certainly some people could get some use out of this guy, even if there's no Dutch League change. So yeah, again, is he getting in his squad for divisions? I don't know. But like I say, not an amazing card, but he's got some qualities, and I think some people could have a bit of fun with this guy. And now we have our latest Player of the Week version of Marcus Thuram. We've had a couple since he's been at Inter. So his overall rating goes one higher than the previous Player of the Week goal poacher, but that's mainly just from awareness. The attributes are kind of shuffled around, and on the whole, pretty similar, really. And there was another Player of the Week, which was a target man. Very different playing style, of course. A target man is just going to stand around and wait for crosses and long balls and stuff, or passes into feet. That target man version, slightly better when he gets his boost, because that's a booster card. But obviously the playing style makes it a very different kind of card, and it was a beast in the other card. I've actually got it. So yeah, very different. On the whole, all three versions fairly similar on the whole, but you've got one that's a beast in the air, and then this one and the other one, both goal poachers, pretty similar really. In terms of trainable version of Thuram, he has previously been a dummy runner. So if you've got a previous version of Thuram, it might be a dummy runner. It's a very particular playing style, very different to a goal poacher. A dummy runner is going to drift out wide and get into weird spaces to try and open up spaces in the middle for other players. And also, I don't know how many featured versions this applies to, but his GP card originally did not have first time shot, and that's probably the most important skill for a centre forward. So we didn't use that first time shot. So if you've got a previous version of Thuram, it might not have first time shot. But yeah, when you look at the better trainable versions of Thuram, they're probably slightly better than this one. There's not a massive difference really between this one and the best versions. It's not the best version though. There are a few that are slightly better, like I say. I would say if you got the nominating contract one recently, I picked that one up myself. That's a goal poacher. If you got that one, I would say it's around about the same as this one, maybe even slightly better. Not a massive difference though. But one thing you will notice with the better trainable versions of Thuram is they have more balance than this. 67 balance is not great. It's quite a significantly lower balance than you tend to get on the trainable version of Thuram. So that's a downside to this card. And if you look on his GP card and what they've changed, that's one of the changes they've made. They've taken, I think, about 7 points off his balance. I don't understand why they do that on a centre forward. It's an important attribute on a centre forward, and you're putting him in this pack based on the fact he's one of the best players in the Champions League this week. But apparently his balance is 7 worse than it normally is. Give me a break. Lost a bit of acceleration as well, but we've had an increase to his defensive ability. Hooray! And ball control is up a bit, tight possession's up a bit. That is good. Yeah, that's about it really. Apart from that, just a kind of nice slight kind of boost from his GP card. Awareness is good. Pace is pretty good for a big, strong, physical guy. Got some physical and aerial strength. He won't have aerial superiority like his target man version. Nope. But he does have heading and aerial superiority, and acrobatic finishing, so he'll be reasonable in the air, if not, even if he won't be dominant. He does have first time shot these days, which is great. He's got one touch pass. Is that a new one? Yes, they've added one touch pass. They've added outside curler. That's a nice one. So he's not overly two-footed. He doesn't like to use his weaker foot too often, at least. So outside curler will help. Gamesmanship has been added as well. Cool. Yeah, pretty good sexual skills on the whole for a centre forward, to be honest. So he's got heading, acrobatic from crosses, and then we've got long range shooting, first time shot. Again, no long range curler, a bit of a shame, but we've got first time shot, long range shooting, heel trick, one touch pass, outside curler. So we've got some nice skills there. It's a decent version of Thuram. Like I say though, it just depends. If you've got a trainable version, one of the better trainable versions of Thuram, then I would say you've probably got a card that's slightly better, especially with the balance being better and the fact that you can train that card and shuffle the points around as you please. You can add skills as well, maybe long range curler, maybe aerial superiority. So yeah, I don't think this is the best version of Thuram, but if you don't have a good version of him, it's certainly a pretty decent card. The one real downside to me, apart from the balance being pretty poor, is his finishing is only 83. It's not terrible, but on a centre forward, you want that to be higher, especially on a player of the week centre forward. So finishing for me is too low. Balance is pretty poor. It's really annoying they're taking a whole bunch of points off for some reason, but he does have pace. He does have good awareness. Better on the ball than he normally is. That is good, and his passing is not bad. They've added one touch pass as well. So there are plenty of positives with this Thuram card. Obviously, he's got his face going. He's had that years now. Big physical guy with some pace, awareness. There's plenty of quality to this guy, but like I say, the finishing I like to be a bit higher. The balance has been nerfed for some weird reason, and there are other versions of Thuram that I would say are probably at least a little bit better than this one. So if you don't have one of those, then this could be a pretty neat card to pick up, even with the finishing and balancing being a bit dubious. But like I say, it could have been better. So one of these cards where, yeah, some people might really like it, but others, it might just not be that exciting. For me personally, like I say, I've got the number 9 contract one, so I don't really need this one. But for a lot of people, it could be a very decent striker to pick up. And now we've got an interesting one. We've got centre-back Kimmich. So normally in an orchestrated defensive mid, this version of Kimmich is a build-up centre-back. Interesting. He's not tall for a centre-back, but he does have some qualities for sure. So down the middle defensively, everything except for awareness is hitting 90. It would have been nice if they'd have added at least 1 point to awareness so they could all hit 90, but it is what it is. Still pretty strong there defensively. More pace than he normally has for sure. The jumping and physical especially are higher than they normally are for Kimmich. So yeah, is he usable as a centre-back? I mean, for some people, yeah, I would say the physical contact's a bit low. I'd say he's a bit short. Does he have aerial superiority? They have added aerial superiority, yes. What else have they done skill-wise? So we've lost chip shot control, we've lost weighted pass, and we've lost captaincy. Weighted pass is a bit of a shame, but I think we can live without chip shots and captaincy. They've added man marking and blocker alongside aerial superiority. So man marking, interception, blocker, aerial, slide and tackle, fighting spirit. So as a centre-back, you're only really lacking acrobatic clearance and heading, really. We've still got one touch pass, two passing on the ball. Obviously, long range shooting and pinpoint crossing, but they're not really going to come into it as a centre back. But yeah, on the whole, a very good selection of skills as a centre back, and some of these attributes are pretty decent. So yes, he's short. Yes, he's lacking a bit with the jumping and physical strength, but we've got some qualities there. He's got decent pace for a centre back. And down the left, they're obviously on the ball, pretty tidy for a centre back. The passing, especially with his passing skills, fantastic passing for a centre back. So not everyone's going to like this guy as a centre-back, but he could be a pretty interesting option for a lot of people. Obviously, with a lot of people cross-spamming at the moment with big physical strikers, I wouldn't recommend him when you come up against opponents like that. But outside of that, could be useful. You look at other versions of Kimmich. We've had a few Player of the Week cards. I think they've all been a right-back primarily. They've made them all right-backs. I would say this card is actually better as a right-back because he's got a bit more pace about him and strong physically and defensively. I would say as a centre-back, without question, it's better because those other ones can't play as a centre-back, the player of the week cards. As a defensive midfielder, I think that's debatable. If you don't mind the fact he's a bit lacking on the ball compared to his other player of the week cards, looking at how strong he is defensively and physically, the skills they've added especially, you'd probably say as an out-and-out defensive mid, this is better than those other cards. But if you like your defensive mids to be more of a kind of deep-lying playmaker, be better on the ball, and you're more interested in them being, you know, being able to pass the ball around and just have a bit of defensive ability, then you might prefer those previous player of the week cards as a defensive mid. Depends on, you know, where your priorities lie with all the attributes and skills. In terms of trainable versus a Kimmich, obviously he's had a legend version. That one can be trained. If you position train him as a centre-back, he can be better than this card as a centre-back. Outside of that, though, and you'd need to put skills on him as well, the legend card. So you need to skill train him and position train him, but you can't make him better as a centre-back. But other trainable versions of Kimmich, you can make other versions of Kimmich better defensively, but you can't quite give any other version of Kimmich, as far as I can see, as much speed or as much physical contact as this one. So pros and cons, and you can obviously train those other versions of Kimmich, so depends how you look at it really. But this is certainly an interesting kind of pre-made centre-back where you don't need to position train him or skill train him. Just the question of the attributes and whether you think that he's high enough in every area. Compared to his GP card, it's difficult to compare him to his GP card. To be honest, if you train his GP card as a centre-back, if you position train him as a centre-back and you trained his GP card you know, in this kind of way to make him a centre-back, it's not a million miles away really. Bit better defensively. He's a few lower on physical contact, one higher on jumping, on auto allocation, a lot less pace though. So on the whole, apart from having a lot less pace, his GP guard isn't a mile away from being as good as this as a centre-back, to be fair. But obviously he does need to be position trained and he needs some skills put on him. So yeah, it depends to how you look at it. But ultimately, I think this is a card where if you don't mind a centre-back being a bit on the short side, obviously there are some centre-backs who are short, like Cannavaro, Brazy, etc. He's obviously not on the same level as those guys, but he is very good technically. He's got fantastic passing for a centre-back, got a bit of pace about him. There's plenty to be said for him. So it's a very interesting version of Kimmich. You might take a look at this guy, and if you're not coming up against big physical strikers and cross spammers, you might be the kind of centre-back you'd really like to have in your team as a build-up. You know, really good on the ball. And as a defensive mid, like I say, as a kind of out-and-out defensive mid, he could be one that really appeals to you. I think as a centre mid, technically, you know, on the ball and certainly the attacking man's, I don't think he really cuts it. I think any other version of Kimmich would be better as a centre mid. If you want a version of Kimmich at right back, like I say, I think this is one of the better versions of Kimmich as a right back as well as centre back, obviously. So yeah, depending on what you want from a version of Kimmich and what you want from a centre back, this could be a very interesting card for you. Obviously, for some people, not so much because he is short and he's like slightly lacking with one or two attributes. But with the skills they put on him, the abilities he's got as a centre back, possibly a right back, possibly even as an out-and-out defensive midfielder, you could certainly get a lot of value out of this guy. I think plenty of people in the player base, obviously he's got his face scan, plenty of people in the player base I think would see this as a very interesting card. Maybe not everyone, but for those who do like the look of it, it could be a really nice card to pick up. And it's certainly a very different version of Kimmich. And now a guy who does normally play centre-back, we've got Araújo from Barcelona, Destroyer. He's got his normal playing style and positions, got his face scan, of course. They need to update his hair, don't they? He's had dyed hair for ages now. But yeah, it's just another Araújo card. There's nothing that amazing about it. Unwavering form, he's got his usual positions. He's obviously pretty strong defensively, physically, aerially, bit of pace about him. We've had a previous player of the week version of him. There was an extra front man. That was a little bit better defensively, but this one's got a bit more speed and stamina. And if you look at trainable versions of Araújo, obviously there was a Showtime one and a Legend version of him as well, which everyone knows about. Both those are better than this one. Those are the best two versions of him. Apart from that, though, the better kind of trainable versions of him. Similar story to the previous player of the week card, really. A bit better defensively with auto allocation, but not as much speed and stamina. So yeah, it's a solid version of him, but nothing too exciting about it, to be honest. Not to me. I got the version that was in there was a national team players pack a while back. I know there's currently a European one and the rest of the world one. It was the previous ones. He was in the rest of the world one, and that's one of the better versions of him. I've got that. It's very solid. Not a massive difference between this one and that one, to be honest. They have nerfed him slightly defensively from his GP card. So yeah, like I say, it's not the most exciting version of him. He could be better defensively, but it's the usual kind of boost, you know, the stamina, the pace is up a bit. Left column mainly with the passing. It's the left and right columns they tend to boost with these player of the week centre backs. He's still strong enough defensively, just the awareness is a little bit low. I'd like to be a couple higher, but he's pretty quick for a centre back. Physically and aerial, I'd like the physical strength to be a bit higher, but he's strong enough. It's going to be pretty decent in the air. He's obviously got aerial superiority. Yeah, there it is. Don't know if they changed much here. First time shot looks new. Yeah, first time shot is new. Captaincy is new, and that's it. So yeah, apart from that, got heading and aerial, and then we got man marking, interception, blocker, sliding tackle, acrobatic clearance, fighting spirit. Yeah, pretty complete set of skills for a centre back really, but no passing skills there. And yeah, like I say, I'd like the defensive awareness to be a bit higher. I'd like at least 1 or 2 higher on physical strength, and 1 or 2 passing skills if I was going to be greedy. But apart from that, it is a solid centre back card. Like I say though, it's not as good as the Showtime or the Legend version, obviously. And if you look at the better trainable versions of him, yes, they might be slightly worse in terms of pace and stamina, but you can shuffle the points around a bit. So if you've got any good version of Araújo, I don't think you really particularly need this one. But if you don't have a good version of him, it's obviously a good one. It's not an amazing one. It's not one to get too excited about, but it's a good solid centre back card. And in my experience, certainly with the version I've got, he never lets you down. It's a good solid centre back card. It's not a particularly exciting version of him, even though it's still a very good card. And we finish with another deep lying forward, Dembélé. We've had one previously in Player of the Week not long ago. Obviously, he's normally a prolific winger, plays as a wide forward, but they've changed him to a centre forward. They've added that position, and he's a deep lying forward. If you look at the previous Player of the Week that they gave us of Dembélé, that was a centre forward, deep lying forward. Fairly similar overall, but that previous one was a bit better on the ball, and he had a bunch more points on low pass as well. He had 1 more point on attacking awareness as well. But this one has more finishing, a little bit more kicking power, and he's also got long range curler. So pros and cons. I guess the previous one for creating chances, this one for scoring. I guess that's the real difference. But on the whole, in terms of overall ability, not a massive difference. He's still getting consistent form. I fully expect that at some point in time, the next time they update the database, I'm sure Dembele's GP card is going to get his form upgraded to at least standard, and he'll have centre forward added if he keeps playing regularly as a centre forward for PSG. But for now, still inconsistent, unfortunately. But yeah, as a deep lying forward, centre forward version of Dembélé, pretty decent on the whole. Not quite as good a creator as the previous version, like I say, but certainly with taking chances, 87 finishing, that's hitting 90 with the game plan boost, and he's got a long range curler. He's got some curl on him, he's got some kicking power as well. Very decent. It's just the attacking awareness slightly lets him down, but he's a deep lying forward. He's not going to be darting in behind the defence constantly. He's going to drop deep and get involved in the build-up. When he does do that, it's pretty tidy on the ball. Not as good on the ball as he can be. Obviously, that previous deep line forward version was a bit better on the ball. If you look at other Player of the Week versions of Dembélé, we've had a bunch of versions of him that are more kind of orthodox versions, wide forwards. They do tend to be better on the ball, a bit more pace, but obviously they don't have the awareness and finishing to match this card, and they can't play as a centre forward either. And the better trainable versions of Dembélé, similar kind of story really. Obviously, they're better as wingers. They tend to have a bit more on the ball and with the pace or whatever, but the awareness and finishing on this one and the previous one are just kind of, they separate them. You can't really match those two attributes on other versions of him. If you look at his GP card, same kind of story really. You can't really train his GP card to be a good centre forward. Yes, you can position train him for centre forward, but can't get that awareness and finishing up high enough really. Albeit as a wing, you can make him better on the ball and arguably better overall, but the awareness and finishing do still come into the equation, of course, as a winger. So you could well argue this is better, because even though you can make him better on the ball with other versions of him, still got ball control and dribbling, hitting 90 with the game plan boost, still got good pace. You could well argue that he's good enough in those areas still, and he's just got that bonus of the awareness and the finishing. So it's an interesting version of Dembélé. He can still, of course, play out wide and be very effective there. But through the centre as a deep line forward, if you can make that playing style work for you, could be very nice there. I personally prefer, with the deep line forward playing style, prefer the profile of his previous Player of the Week one. The fact he's got that little bit more ability on the ball, but especially the passing, which is over 80 before the game plan boost. I would prefer that previous one. But this one, maybe not as good a creator, but certainly overall just as good. And with the shooting, with its finishing attribute and long range curler, if you prefer that, you're more interested in getting, dribbling your way into the box and getting shots away, you may well prefer this one. They have added long range curler for this card, as well as first time shot and one touch pass as well. So he's already got through passing, now he's got one touch pass as well. So he can shoot. He can pass, but again, one touch pass and through passing are great, but they're just going to improve your passing attributes. He's not going to magically be great at passing now. It's just going to make him a bit better. The passing attribute, the low pass attribute 76 is not great, and it's even more the case with pinpoint crossing. Yes, he's got pinpoint crossing, which is nice, but is it really going to make his crossing that good when his lofted pass attribute 17? No, it's not. His crossing's still not going to be good. So I wouldn't be playing him as a kind of old school winger, putting crosses in. I think with this guy, You're either going to use him the way he's kind of supposed to be used as a centre forward, deep lying forward, in which case passing not so great, but certainly taking chances looks like he could be very effective. Or if you use him out wide, the fact he's got low range curler, first time shot, in addition to the fact his passing is not too bad for a winger and very good finishing attribute. Either flank being as 2-footed he is, coming inside and hitting long range curlers and just shooting in general and taking chances for you. Pace, good on the ball. Yes, some other previous versions of Dembélé are better in terms of pace on the ball and so on, but with the awareness and finishing that this one has, I think it compensates, and I think it makes it a very interesting version of Dembélé, especially the fact you can play him through the centre as well as out wide. So, yeah, I think this is a card that for a lot of people could be a really fun one to pick up, and a lot of people will probably be very keen to get it. Just a shame he's still getting inconsistent form, really, and isn't a little bit better at passing, but that's probably being a bit greedy. I think most people probably agree this is a pretty interesting looking card, and a lot of people would be pretty keen to get it, I reckon. So there's your Champions League Player of the Week pack. As we've come to kind of expect these days, the Champions League Player of the Week packs do tend to be better than the regular Player of the Week packs. I don't think it's an amazing pack. I think, honestly, if you look at these cards over to the right-hand side, Simeone, nah. Rodgers, nah. Sahraoui, nah. Decent, but nah. I think Jorginho, solid. Trubin, good goalie. Stones looks like a very interesting card. Bakayoko, again, he's all right. He's not amazing, though. Thuram, not the best version of him, but it could be a decent one for a lot of people. Kimmich, is that the profile that you want on a centre-back? I mean... Oh, I pressed the wrong button. What am I doing? Yeah, he's short and he's not the strongest physically or aerially, so he might not be quite the kind of centre-back you want, but I think a lot of people will find that a very interesting card. Maybe even as a DMF as well. And then Araújo, not the best version of him, but it's still a solid centre-back card. I imagine a lot of people are keen to get him, and likewise Dembélé, an interesting version of Dembélé again, like the previous one. So there are some pretty decent cards in there. I think it's better than the regular Player of the Week pack. Like I said at the start, I've already reviewed that one, so if you've not seen that video, the review of that pack is also live on the channel. And as I mentioned as well earlier, it looks like we're getting Rui Costa and Batistuta, and more importantly, Jacob Murphy on Monday. So I would imagine after lunch on Monday, I'll confirm in the Discord or on the community tab over the next day or two. But yeah, there will be a pack opening stream on Monday, so you can watch me waste a load of money and laugh at me. So yeah, it'd be good to see you for that. But as for this one, thank you for watching as always. Hope you found this useful. Let me know who you've spun. Let me know what you think of the pack. And yeah, jump in the Discord. Might see you there. Might see you for the live stream on Monday. Aside from that, have a fantastic weekend. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.